皆さん、こんにちは。教育ということ自体も非常に国際的になりまして、現在はこの遠隔教育ですか、リモートエデュケーション、Zoom などを使った教育をすると、どこにいても誰からでも教育を受けられる時代になったんですけども、20年、30年前と言いますと、なかなかそうはいかずに、実際教育をするとなると、その現場に行って、そこにいる人たちと、接しながらね、教育するっていう時代があったんですけども、そういう時代、約30年前からですね、日本の教育に非常に興味を持ってくださって、日本と行ったり来たりしながら、かつ日本にも5、6年住んで、日本の教育に貢献してくれた、私の長年の親友である、ジェリーことドクター・ジェラルド・スタインが今日のプレゼンターになってくださいます。彼はもちろん日本に長いことに行ったことがありまして、日本の教育、それから日本自体のいいところ悪いところ、アメリカに比べて、そういうことも熟知していまして、そういう面から、日本の将来みたいなことね、未来も20年、30年先の未来もかなり予想されるんじゃないかと思いますけども、そういうジェリーから、若い皆さんたちに今後の医療者として、あるいは医師として、一体どういうような世界になるかっていうようなことも含めて、アドバイスをいただきたいと思います。今回が、井筒悟先生、それからガータム・デシパンデ先生について、3人目の英語での一応、プレゼンテーションになりますので、よろしくお願いしたいと思います。未来の医師への贈り物、Present to Doctor to be in Future、第55回になります。ドクター、ジェラルド・スタイン、彼はフロリダ大学におりますけども、タイトルとしては、Prepare Your Mind for Your Future というタイトルで、これから、まず自己紹介からお願いしていきたいと思いますけども、この写真は、ジェリーが日本の各地で、教育を実際ね、現場でされている時の写真ですけども、これから始めてもいいですし、次のスライドからでもいいんですけども、自己紹介をしていってほしいと思います。Okay, here you are. Please introduce yourself, Jerry.
こんにちは。私は Jerry です。はじめまして。This venture of mine through life, I am happy to share with you.Starting with illustrations of my pleasure teaching Japanese young doctors how to think and understand their patients on these various pictures. And I am currently doing some teaching through the American College of Physicians Japan chapter, as well as the junior senior program medical education program of the University of Hawaii.
So these pictures is a long time ago when you were in Japan?
Not so long ago, actually, maybe 3 or 4 years
3,
ago.
4 years ago.
Currently, because of the COVID pandemic, I am sheltering at home
Okay.
and unable to travel internationally.
Me too. Yeah. Okay, so let's start the introduction. Born in Philadelphia, and after that, until you graduate college and to be a teaching staff.
Sure. Well, I had a upbringing as child in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as you can see on the map. And in that great city of 3 million people, my family lived above my father's clinic, shown in the picture here.
Oh, I see. Here.
And at that time, I was about 10 years old in that picture. And the waiting room for the patients is directly behind me. And I lived with my family in the 2nd and 3rd floor above this modest building
I see.
in a working class neighborhood of Philadelphia.
I see.
And because my father's clinic was below our living quarters, I had much opportunity to play doctor in his office, to look at his instruments, look at his microscope, look at his books, and enjoyed this opportunity, which stimulated me to think about my own career to become a doctor, just like my father. And maybe some of you would like to become doctor because of your mother or father.
Right. I see. So after you spend your teenager keeping in mind to be a physician in the future, you went to the medical school, right?
Well, our system in America is usually going to university for
First.
4 years of general university studies, as for example, literature, science, history, language, such studies, and then applying and being accepted into medical university, a total of 8 years I will show shortly. But basically, I was accepted into famous University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine. And this picture shows me in the black circle box with my 120 classmates learning to be doctors, of which only at that time about 6% were women. Now, of course, our student women population is 50% in American medical universities.
Okay, so Philadelphia, I spent also 3-4 years, and it's a nice city, like traditional city, and I love it there. But you spend there for many years, I think. And then after that, this is just here showing what you mentioned, some system difference between Japan and the United States, right?
Yes. This chart shows age and year. Usual Japanese high school student graduates at age 18 from high school and then enters directly into Japanese medical university, here written as medical school, but in Japan, medical university. That course is 6 years. And at the end of 6 years, the graduating Japanese medical student becomes doctor, called postgraduate year 1 and 2 resident, and then continuing on for an additional senior residency. And the equivalent is virtually the same, except it's divided somewhat differently. The number of years of studies correspond very closely to the American system, where we must be in university for 4 years, then medical school for 4 years, and then enter our residency, PGY 1 and 2 year as resident. So at the end of 10 years, yes, it is a long time and enjoyable study time for me and my classmates. At the end of 10 years of study, now age 28 in both countries, then we have equivalent type of training and skill.
Right. And you spend this residency training over here, very famous Harvard Medical School.
Yes, I then went to my postgraduate junior residency at famous Boston City Hospital, Harvard Service. And I was pleased to have as one of my residency classmates, Dr. Chris Gilbranson, who became dean of the University of Hawaii some years ago, that Dr. Machi may recall.
Right.
And we were in separate parts of the hospital, but interacted once a week and knew each other quite well. But nonetheless, in Boston, I improved my skills in becoming a doctor and learned more exactly ways how to think like a doctor.
That's good. And then this you spend 2 years in over here,
Yes.
or 2 years?
2 years, but I had some free time to learn how to sail, and you can see the little sailboats on the river, Charles River, near the hospital. And I really enjoyed that experience, how to become a beginner sailor.
I see. Okay.
Not advanced.
And then you spend after that so-called senior resident in Florida, where you are
Yes,
currently.
I then continued my studies as senior resident, PGY 3 and 4 in Japanese system equivalent. And there is a picture of the very large University of Florida Medical Center as it exists today, a very large campus with 900-bed hospital facility. And Gainesville is not well recognized as a famous city to visit. So I put a little dot on the map where Gainesville is located, and it is about 160 kilometers from famous Disney World, Orlando at Disney World. So
Over
that's
here,
how
right?
most people come to understand Gainesville.
I see. And this is an alligator?
Yes, we have a nature park 10 kilometers from the university. It's a very short drive. And what's unique about this nature park is that the dinosaurs, these wild animal alligators, walk freely where you can be very close to them.
Not dangerous?
Well, not if you understand the rules of the beast.
I see.
That is, you don't feed them, you don't touch them, and you don't annoy them.
I
You
see.
just let them walk or sleep, and you watch and you walk away, and they do not disturb you. They do not attack people.
I see. Okay. And then from this time and after that, you start doing international global activities, I think all over, particularly in Japan.
I'll later show the Japan map, but before I had my first trip to Japan, I understood travel to other states, to other parts of America would improve my clinical training. And so I went to San Francisco, famous University of California, San Francisco to study. And I also went to New York City to study. And in the process, I developed an interest in research activities. And I did some modest research studies and presented my findings in Canada, in Brazil, and in many European cities, such as London and Milan and parts of Spain and Hungary. That's where that little star is. Eventually, I came to make a presentation in Kyoto and first time introduced to Japan, and thereafter looked for reasons to return to Japan.
So this is your work starting in Japan.
Yes, I I had an invitation from famous Japanese medical educator Matsumura Tadashi Sensei, pictured with me, and he introduced me to teaching in Japan at Maizuru Shimin Byoin in 1990 or so. And I was there and enjoyed very much this unique opportunity to teach, which was so much different than teaching in America. It was a kind of cultural shock for me because of the different ways the Japanese students and senior doctors talk to one another compared to how American medical students and doctors talked to each other. So I felt a little strange at first because I was the only white person in a small rural hospital. And I learned quickly how to be comfortable in Japan.
But there was some culture shock.
Yes, there was indeed, but it was a pleasant shock to learn that there are different ways and tolerance of the different ways and acceptance of the different ways was this introduction.
Mm. Do you know, we called the physician teachers from United States at that time, it's called a dailiga physician. Dailiga meaning United States, baseball league.
Yes, yes, I know about that concept and title of a book by Matsumori Tadashi
Right.
Sensei, and I was very honored to be having a short, modest chapter in his famous
I
book.
see, I see. So you are probably one of the pioneers to be a dailiga teachers in Japan. And then actually you decide to live in Japan for about 6 years.
Yes, I had such a pleasant time with Matsumori Tadashi Sensei at Maizuru Shimin Byoin that when I received an invitation from the Kameda brothers to become a permanent teacher for the residents at Kameda Sogo Byoin, I readily accepted the invitation, thinking I would stay 1 or 2 years, but because the students and the residents seemed to accommodate my way, and because I enjoyed this way of teaching, I decided to remain in Japan for many, many years.
I see. And I see the face of the, your resident, currently very famous, Japanese teachers, all over. So you are probably one of the great teacher of current teachers, I think.
I don't think so. There are many who are greater. But what is important, I think, is I was able to have a very smart group. And let me add that all Japanese students are very smart. And with some training and some introductions, how to understand patients at the bedside, their skills drastically improved, and hence they have become disciples of mine to teach many Japanese young doctors improved ways to benefit their patients.
Yeah. And I understand after that you went back to your country in the United States, but still you come back and forth in the past 20 years or so, visiting all over Japan.
Well, not quite all over. As the map indicates, mostly in the central areas of Honshu, and of course in Okinawa, where I've spent so many happy times. But basically, some famous teaching centers felt very comfortable having this international way of teaching introduced to their medical students and residents. So I was very humbled to have such invitations over so many years to have taught in the aggregate hundreds of mostly residents and an opportunity once or twice to teach very actively in medical universities, very enthusiastic medical students who are on the path to become excellent physicians.
Right. And particularly because I also have a connection in University of Hawaii and Okinawa Tube Hospital, you went to, and actually probably in the future, you probably may be going again, Okinawa Tube Hospital. And you did, it is Okinawa Tube maybe? Maybe not, but you went to Okinawa many, many times, right?
Yes, I did. The top left picture is Mito, Kyodo Hospital affiliate of. But one of my emphasis is on bedside teaching. By bedside teaching, the pictures show very clearly to have the residents learn the skill of examining the patient by listening to the various breathing sounds and the various sounds that the heart makes, as well as discussing at the bedside with the patient so that we could have a simultaneous translation so the patient understood what we were talking about and not be frightened by some foreign language, to understand that we were there to help young doctors help the patient with their illness, understanding treatment, and hope discharge from hospital soon. Bedside teaching.
Yeah, that's important. And oftentimes it's kind of missing in the Japanese education. They do a lot of lectures, but not good, bedside teaching, but which you have been doing in Japan, I think. And this is some of the probably your good friends and the person who inspired you in Japan. Aoki Makoto is a very close friend of mine also.
Yes, from Okinawa Chubu Byoin also, by coincidence. And we have given lectures on emergency infectious diseases that are very dangerous and require great skill. And by discussing these kinds of emergency patients, young residents and medical students can understand the ways to examine patients quickly in Kyukugarai, in the emergency room, to speed up the care of the patient is very, very important. But we also, I also learned from my colleague, Marui Sensei, Fujita Sensei, the importance of giving a worksheet to the young doctors so they know what is expected of them when they examine the patient. And their help in developing a worksheet has been a tool that I have used to this day.
I see.
So appreciative of their assistance.
I see. And through this contribution over maybe 30 years or so, you get several awards in Japan. Maybe I can show a few of them. And this is from the Kameda and Okayama Medical University.
Yes, I'm very proud of these awards. I have maybe no awards from my Flighted Daigaku, but I have several awards from my Japanese teaching. So I am very honored to have received such contributions to my efforts.
Great. And this is, of course, Okinawa Tube. You contributed a lot. So you have a lot of certificate and yeah, it was very nice. Thank you for your help.
Dansho Sensei invited me many times, and I lived there for 6 months, actually, and taught every day at Okinawa Chubu Byoin and their affiliate hospital in Naha, Irio Senta, and enjoyed that very much. The doctors there at Okinawa Chubu Byoin and affiliate hospitals have a special interest in comprehensive patient care. And as such, we were attracted to each other and made a nice fit for the teaching of the medical students and residents.
And this is probably a great honor because it's American College of Physicians. There's a Japan chapter, and you have been teaching there. Actually, next week or so you do again, I guess, but you get this great honor from this ACP Japan chapter.
Actually, Dr. Machi, it's an honor sort of in reverse. I got the award, and then I really went to work afterwards.
I see.
First the award, and then I rolled up my sleeves and decided that this organization fit very well my needs for teaching the young, enthusiastic medical students and residents. So we have started on a course of 3 or 4 times a year of clinical teaching throughout Japan of invited students and residents who submit cases. And I am very proud to help this worthwhile organization, as I have been with your group, the JRSR organization of the University of Hawaii. Thank you for that privilege also.
Thank you. And then using these your experience, you are also doing a lot of research, maybe comparing Japan and the United States or whatever.
Well, what occurred to me was that some instructors, tutors in Japanese medical universities were hungry for a way to better teach clinical skills. So with the help of many famous Japanese medical educators, some featured here, Dr. Kitano and Dr. Kosaka, and Dr. Yasu Tokuda Sensei, we put together a team both at Fukui Daigaku and Okayama Daigaku to study how to teach remotely many years before the Zoom conference was popular. And we developed a control group and did a systematic study of effectiveness of teaching by webinar, by Zoom type conferences, and published our work in several medical magazines. And I am very pleased with the support of so many physicians. And these are the medical students who were volunteer subjects in this project at these two medical universities that contributed their time and learned so much together.
I see. So you are pretty much ahead of time before this pandemic, time. You already starting this webinar. That's a great. And then actually you are doing this like this right now.
Yes, exactly. With your group, I am doing that right now, and I am a firm believer that having remote teaching can be highly successful. And so I hope that these types of video conferencing are achieving the goals of improving the education and, most importantly, patient care among Japanese patients.
I think, right now is that these remote education is mostly in a college or higher level, but probably in the near future, even high school teenager, there are more opportunity to have this kind of like international conference or remote teaching, I think. That's great.
Yes,
and then
Hawaii, under your leadership, are one of the strongest groups promoting such remote learning.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I like to do like I have like a high school. My the high school I graduated from. Maybe I will talk to the principal there and to introduce you and do some conference or lecture for the high school student maybe in the future.
My pleasure.
Okay. Anyway, and also you are doing in Florida some volunteer work like this.
Well, I had been doing. Our healthcare system in America is fragmented, broken into many pieces. It is overly expensive, and many people do not have the money to pay for their health care. And at University of Florida, a outreach clinic on this bus behind our helpers is a bus, and there are two little examining rooms on the bus. And I am the attending physician, among others. And these are the helpers, and the helpers are undergraduate college students, age around 18 to 20, slightly older than college students, but not medical students, who are very helpful with coordinating the patient care.
Yeah, University of Hawaii they are doing the same thing. Medical student has been helping these activities, and which is very good for young physicians to be. seeing the some disadvantaged people or helping these people, care the people. That's very important activities, I think. Okay, and then now from now on, I want you to give some suggestions to the young generation, and this is about choosing a profession. So you can tell us about this.
Well, this is a challenging topic for anyone, especially high school students thinking about their career. There is no right path. These little cartoons illustrate either many arms of ways to think about a career, non-professional careers such as a cook or construction worker, or working in a laboratory, or computer work, or mechanic work. It doesn't have to be a college profession, but for those who are interested, the middle panel with the blue arrows shows that the university offers so many different types of careers. I cannot tell you what career is best for you. You have to think for yourselves and with your family what careers are good for you, as shown in the right panel with the big question mark, and thinking about career of scientist and computer person and so forth, and what your money needs, financial help to pay for expensive education. It's a multiple input. Many different topics have to come together to make your decision, and best to try to think privately and maybe write down on a piece of paper what careers interest you, what careers not only interest you, but have passion. You really, really like to study. You want to study more. You want to learn more about. That concept, following your passion, can be very helpful in choosing your career. It helped me because I developed a passion for wanting to be a doctor at a very young age, and I locked onto that. And today, I still have that passion.
That's great. Yeah, our job, I think we need to continue for many years. So the passion is very, very important. And then this is a motivation and passion to be a doctor. This, I know this drama, Koko no Mesu. So you saw this when you were in Japan?
Oh, I saw this movie. It's a feature film.
I see.
And I saw this movie on a flight across the Pacific. And I studied more about the movie because it taught so many topics that I felt the young doctors were thinking about as they were advancing their career. And that's one of the advantages of movies. They can portray the feelings and emotions much more vividly than a lecture about why to be an engineer or a doctor. And the movie, to me, motivated me to be more enthusiastic about my teaching because it illustrated the value of international learning, international ideas to improve the healthcare of Japanese. That's another important theme. How new ideas are introduced in a traditional culture, a very challenging topic that is always challenging.
See. Yeah, actually, I didn't see the movie, but there was they make a TV series, drama series. And that I saw about 10 times in the series, and I was very impressed about a surgeon who do like a transplantation, right? And then, yes. Not just a surgical technical skill is behind, but most important is how they, care the patient. More importantly, rather than the system, regulation and other things. But yeah, I impressed this drama very much. So maybe I like to encourage young people to see this drama sometimes. Okay. And then you show me this teaching, learning philosophy, which I think it was very interesting. So I want you to, explain this slides.
The number one learning pyramid explains that the average student remembers by percent the different ways of teaching. So the common way of learning a lecture, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, you remember very, very little.
Mm.
And going down the pyramid, the more you actually talk and think about a problem, and the more you teach others, the more you remember yourself.
Yeah.
And that idea is one of my main philosophies of teaching, because it helps me with my own patients do a better job when I teach. Then step 2 is the concept that the many, many years of training begin with the first step.
Okay.
Yes, high school student, you are thinking, oh, you showed 10 years of study to be having adequate skills. Yes, 10 years, but it begins with the first step.
Right.
And after 10 years,
Going
there are
up.
more steps. It's lifelong learning.
Right.
Lifelong learning. And then 3 is the idea of teaching method, teaching a method of learning. So you teach a person how to fish when they are hungry, rather than just giving him the fish.
Fish itself.
And so my colleagues in Japan have taught me how to use worksheets and workbooks to help the learning faster. And then, of course, this topic of feedback, showing the resident how to do better, how to think better, how to use the medicines better, how to praise, how to give praise to the student and their resident, is a great way to encourage the learning.
Yes. Yeah, always it's we do something, teach something, and actually evaluate the student, and doing a feedback and encourage improvement, and then do again, just like a cycle all the time. But this particularly how to teach how to do the fishing is very important, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, in Japan there is a I forgot the exact name. It's a shaku, shakpyo, whatever. Anyways, similar saying, in Japanese also. Don't not just giving things, but teach how to, get things. That's more important. Okay, and now I want you to talk about some future AI, IT, robot era. What's going to happen, and what's your suggestion?
Well, the cartoon is a kind of a joke. The good news is I have discovered inefficiencies. The bad news is that you're one of them. This is the robot talking to the person. And the robot is telling the person, well, we don't need you. The robot can do your work. But the difficulty with that idea is that the robot needs to be programmed by you, the high school student, when you become engineer, computer expert, doctor, lawyer, whatever your career. You will have to tell the computer robot how to think, how to use the knowledge. And in these new areas of intelligence, IT, AI, in every aspect of science, there is huge acceleration of machine learning, artificial intelligence that will be helping the architect, helping the engineer, helping the physician in managing the construction of the building, of designing new robots, and helping patients as our huge volume of information is managed by huge database computers that you high school students will soon be in charge of, and instruction to the robot. Always the human input is essential.
I see. Okay. So still, even these new eras, I think a human being should be in the center to control everything. Okay. And then at the end, I ask you to give one, words of wisdom to the young generation. You have chosen this one.
Yes, I have this phrase that I have learned from a famous French biologist, bacteriologist, Louis Pasteur.
Pasteur, yeah.
And he was famous in Paris about 1890, 1900, when he made famous discoveries of bacteria and their germ theory to harm people. And in that way, he understood the importance of education, to have a prepared mind, because you never know what is going to come your way. And so he developed this phrase, fortune favors the prepared mind. And let's think about each part. The prepared mind is you, the high school student, doing your studies and wondering, why do I have to study the triangle and the hypothesis and the history of the samurai or whatever? It prepares your mind for thinking, because your future is unknown and you want to be ready for it. And that's why you are in school. That's why you will enter the university. And so I urge you to study whatever you like, and as broadly study everything, but then think about focused study on what gives you passion and great interest. And as you continue your life path, luck will come your way. And when your mind is ready, it will jump at the opportunity, and you will be so happy you are well trained.
I see, I see. Okay, so preparedness is very important, and to do so when particularly teenager time, look, showing interest for everything, and then learn whatever you can. I think that's very important. Usually in the United States, high school and college, they have a more opportunity to this mind preparedness as a student. But in Japan, high school and then jump into the medical school, so they may not have enough time to prepare maybe. And pretty well Japan and the United States, and then finally your words is fortune favors prepared mind. I think that's very important. And so based on your experience and your perspective in the future, do you think a Japanese young generation teenager has a bright future?
Of course. They have the greatest future awaits them. And it's up to them to be prepared, to study everything, because the future is always bright. There will be some disappointments along the way, and learning to accept the disappointments is part of life. We've all had disappointments. I have had my disappointments. I don't know about Dr. Machi, maybe.
Yeah, me too. I did a lot. I had a lot. Actually, it's good to have unfortunate experience rather than no experience because we can always learn from some mistakes and bad experience and then go to the next step. So
exactly. I agree with that fully. We have errors that we make in our choices, but there should be opportunities to self-correct and move along in your life decision. And we hope those decisions bring peace to everyone and health and happiness along the way, but it cannot be promised. But the more you are prepared in general, the more you are accepting life goodness and life not so good. And so together, study hard, be prepared, and success may come your way, but keep trying. Gambate.
どうもありがとうございます。Thank you very much, Jerry. And hopefully I can see you in person. You didn't come to Hawaii for many years, right? When was the last time you visited Hawaii? Several years ago?
Yes, many years ago.
Maybe.
Actually, the only, I've been for two purposes. One, my son's wedding in Maui to come to Hawaii, a special event, of course, son's wedding. And more frequently to meet with you and others at University of Hawaii to plan externships for Japanese residents, both from Kamede Byoin and from Noguchi Kenkyusei, that you and I have been instrumental
we work together.
In these experiences.
Okay, and hopefully you can visit, Hawaii and Japan, pretty soon. I want to go to Japan also, so maybe I will see you in a face-to-face in the near future. Okay.
Me too. I hope to see you.
Thank you very much, Jerry, and good luck for your life, and continue teaching for us. Thank you very much, Jerry.
Very much.
ありがとうございました。どうも。
さよなら。どうもありがとうございました。